So what is going on? We are about to install a winch on Junior's Can Am Maverick Trail. The previous video we took the front end off of the machine. I'll put a link to that up at the top. I suggest you go watch that to learn how to take this front end apart. It'll make installing the winch a lot easier. Yeah, so we've got everything to this point. We are just going to have to remove this pan, but we're not quite at that part of the instructions just yet, and it's been a long time since I've done this, so I'm going to have to refer to the instructions a little bit. But the first thing you have to do is build this little guy, and it's easiest just to sit down and do it on a bench. So I guess that's the first step. We're going to get that thing assembled. So I should point out that we also bought, well, I say we, Junior also bought the Can Am winch wire harness. Just, I mean, it's an extra, what, 40 bucks? I don't know. But it's so much easier than trying to figure out the wiring on your own. Everything is kind of pre-made to where all you got to do is route everything. So, I don't know. In my not so expert, opinion, I suggest you buy the Can Am wire harness too, just to simplify things. So that's what it looks like when it's done. This is all going to make sense once you get to underneath the dash, but basically this whole assembly is going to end up underneath the dash. Connects to your terminals underneath. These go to some switched wires. This one you run back out underneath the hood that runs to your little wired remote, and this one you run up over the steering column for the actual toggle switch on the dash. And this is essentially what this whole thing looks like. They even color code these bottom wires for you so you know where to plug these in. But this is all just going to get assembled, like I say, and then we're going to set this aside, and now we're going to actually install the winch itself. Okay, so now on to the removal of this pan. Another common thing that's asked is, what winch mount do you need? And you do not need a winch mount. It's integrated into that. So you just have to remove that bucket to install the winch itself. So there's two, near as we can tell, two bolts on the bottom, and there's two bolts on the side, one here and one on the other side. And then this whole thing should just come off. And we want to do it by hand because they use nut certs a lot down here, and there's some horror stories of those nut certs spinning. So we're going to do it by hand just to make sure they come out. Is it coming out? Fingers crossed.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of want to be tempted to just wail on it with an impact, but probably not a good idea.
For a second it kind of felt like it was, but I mean they've gone ahead and put Loctite on every bolt in here, it seems. Yeah. So everything's going to feel tighter than it is, which is a good thing.
And I believe the winch kit comes with new bolts to put in place of these that have fresh Loctite on them, which is good.
Which is good.
You coming?
I don't know about this one. She feels awfully spinny. Yeah, this one's spinning, I'm pretty sure. Worst case scenario, these other ones, it doesn't appear to be a nut cert. It appears to be a welded
nut
on the body, so you won't have that problem with the tops.
So what we ended up getting is we've got the whole, can't get my damn hand in here. Get it on camera. Basically, we did the whole nut cert has just popped out, but we can deal with this once we get the whole thing out. We'll try to get the nut cert back in place. Thanks, Can Am.
No,
Wish
there
that
was a
sway
way
bar
to
wasn't
remedy
right
that.
in the way.
Oh my goodness.
What a pain in the butt.
Gosh darn it. If only there was a way that those could just, I don't know, come off.
Can you take the sway bar off, I wonder?
I don't know. Maybe
Just-
you check the link down below for a video. I believe it's titled "Do Not Do This" or what?
Yeah. I mean, make sure that you put the sway bar back on, of course,
Of course, yeah. You know,
when you're done.
it's just in the way right now. Is the-
Right. Yes. Well, should,
in theory.
in theory. Just come out. That's it? But yeah, that's all we had to do. We had to just keep wedging and ended up just popping this out. And that's a known issue. My machine didn't do that. So yeah, we got to fix that nut cert. But that's how you get that off. All right, so we couldn't get the nut cert to work, so we have to go to the store to see if we can buy a nut cert. And we live in a small town where everything is closed on Sundays, so we have to drive 30 minutes to the nearest Lowe's, and hopefully they have nut certs. Thanks, Can Am. You owe me $10 worth of gas. All right, so a couple of days have gone by. We went to town trying to find some nut certs, and on a Sunday, nobody that was open had them. So we couldn't find them anywhere. So came home, ordered them on Amazon. I only needed one. Had to buy a pack of 50. It was only like $6, but so we're back in business. Gonna start on it again. Okay, so you can see our problem. This nut cert just spun in its socket, so we weren't able to loosen that bolt. Like I said, this is a pretty common issue with these. One way I guess maybe we possibly could have avoided it is heating the bolts up first and just maybe softening the Loctite up a little bit, because the Loctite seems to be a lot stronger than the nut cert. But all right, the nut cert's in, riv nut, whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't know. Again, thanks, Can Am. That was fun. So now we're going to mount the winch to the winch plate, and it seems like I remember the instructions tell you to put the winch in first, then put the fair lead on. And as I remember when I did mine, I couldn't get in and hold the nuts on the back side of the fair lead with the winch in the way, so I had to take mine back apart and put the fair lead on first. So we're going to put the fair lead on first and then put the winch in. All right, fair lead mounted up, and we just got to put the winch in. Okay, instructions are pretty clear. The way you need to route this wire, this is technically the bottom of the winch, but it mounts upside down, so it's going to mount up into here. You need to route the wire so that it goes underneath this bar right here, and the electrical part of it, the motor part of it's going to be on the driver's side of the machine, clutches on the passenger side. So wheel that through there, then it's just going to bolt up to those 4 holes right there. So there's your final of how it's actually mounted. The winch is mounted upside down. Wire comes off the top of the roller and out. And yeah, now we just got to bolt. I just got to bolt this guy back up.
You get it? Looks like it's going. Let's go to there.
No, it goes
All the way.
pencils all the way. If you can. Okay, that's it. We're done. All right, so the idea is just to route the wires up and inside and right. We can see it. There's a little rubber boot. And there's a zip tie on the end of it. You cut that zip tie, open that up, and that's where you run your wires inside of the cabs up in there. So yeah, up in this, now we're just gonna run everything up and into there. Okay, so through trial and error, we've discovered when you route your winch wires in through that boot, come up and over this little block right here, over the top with your winch wires, and then connect it to your solenoid. There's yellow goes to yellow, so then this one obviously goes to the one that's not yellow. And now mount that thing up. Okay, hopefully this is gonna actually show up, but that's what that looks like installed. These two pieces that we assembled onto this whole deal earlier, attached to the bolts here on this block. And then there are two screws that screw up that hold this thing up here. So this whole assembly kind of lifts up in place, and the two eyelets at the end of these things go over those studs, put the nuts on, hold it up, and then screw this thing up, and then this whole thing is held in place. All right, so now we got the left of the wiring harnesses. These two are gonna find a home. There's some plugs underneath here. This one right here needs to be fished back out through that boot to under the hood. This connects to where the wired remote control plugs in. This one is for the toggle switch. We run it over to the column and put it right here. I mean, you can really put it anywhere. We haven't figured out where we're gonna do it yet, but that's just what's left of it now. It's just these bits of harnesses, but this is the hard part because TJ will tell you there's no way to get under here and be comfortable.
No, you're always in a jam.
It's horrible. This is the worst place to work. Underneath the dash of the Maverick Trail for sure. Okay, so on this connector right here, this wire is on the machine, and the plug at the end of it, you see I've plugged it now into the harness for the winch, but this plug has this white cap on it, and it's attached kind of up underneath the dash. So you'll need to, it's just to hold that wire here in place. So yeah, this is just a cap. So pull the wire out of this cap, and then that connects to the harness. Just another little tidbit. Now we're just finding a way to route the wire for this toggle switch to be the neatest and prettiest. Yeah, I'd go all the way up against the wall if you can.
All against
The firewall, yeah. Like towards where that plug is, and no, yeah, there you go. Yeah, so we're gonna route it back, up and over the steering column, and over to the other side, and we're gonna tidy all this up and pull slack and do all that when we get everything in place. So yep, just run the wire for the toggle switch up and out. We pulled this little block out, just get a little screwdriver and pop those plastic plugs out. Okay, so the winch switch, you can see there's terminals in the harness and then the terminals on the, just so you know which way it plugs in. Okay.
Like so.
Then right side up. Uh-oh. There we go. Switch in. Pop the switch in the hole. Moment of truth. Hit the switch. It don't matter. That's in. Woohoo! Out. And it works. Okie doke. So now, once we get everything buttoned back up, we're going to pull this cable, we're going to stretch it out good, and then put some tension on it and get it all fed back in right. But it works. Now we just need to put in the remote thingy. So for this, we just routed this down through that hole. You can insert these little nut jobbers right there. Those just kind of push in place, and then the screws that hold that down are going to go down into those little thingies. Okay, winch remote plug secure. Now we just need to wire it. So according to the instructions, red goes to connector position A, green goes to connector position B, black goes to C, and you can't see it at all, but on here it is marked. They're locked into place. Flip that up and it should snap. And then that will plug into that guy right there, which is the wire that we fed back out through the boot. Let's try it, see if it works. Alright, so the plug of the winch plugs into there, line up the little tab, and it just plugs in, so it's just another test. Turn the key to the on position. And it works. Success! Okay, so now everything's wired, everything's done. At this point, you just have to take all of your extra wire and put the slack where you want it, zip tie it up out of the way, clean everything up. It gave you a ton of zip ties. And yeah, so at this point, technically, I guess it's installed. We just got to button everything up. So installing the front end is just the exact opposite of how you take it off. Put it in place and hang it up on these little, if you can get a picture of it, there's little tabs. Hanging on those tabs, start these bolts. Leave them kind of loose, but just put the bolts in just to keep everything from falling off. Leave them a little bit loose until you get down to the other end of these bars. Line up those 3 holes at the bottom of each bar. Put those bolts in, tighten them down all the way. And once you get that lined up, then you can go ahead and tighten these down all the way. But then it's just a question of kind of pushing them into place. Tip when you're installing this front piece, there's that little button right there that will go up in that little guide. Make sure it's centered in that button. Make sure it goes underneath, the hood goes underneath this lip. I've seen a lot of people do it like that. Well, the wind's gonna catch it, you're gonna lose it. So slide centered on that lip, centered on that stud, and then goes in place. And you just beat the crap out of it. All right, and it's done. Winch is installed. Yeah, so there it is, a winch, Maverick Trail. It's a lot of work, really. It's just a lot of tedious work, routing the wires right. That block of crap that goes underneath the dash, that is by far the worst part, is working underneath the dash, without a doubt. But routing the wires so that they're not rubbing anything, that there's not anything moving. But yeah, that's the worst part. So yeah, thanks for watching.